Right. All right. Hello, everyone. It looks like we have a lot of people with us today. So thank you so much for coming. I think some of you are from the chemistry club, which is where I'm from, and then others may be joining as guests. So at the end of this, if you do decide that you want to join the chemistry club, you can reach out to myself or Dr. Johnson, and I can put my email in the chat. But today's speakers are Dr. Liz Easley and Mrs. Ashley Schreier. They coordinate the Graduation with Leadership Distinction program at USC Lancaster. They are both on campus and are here to assist any students who are interested in graduating with this distinction. Please join me in welcoming our speakers, Dr. Easley and Mrs. Schreier.
Thank you so much. We are truly excited to be here. I know I speak for Dr. Easley and myself when I say that graduation with leadership distinction is such a special opportunity for all of our students. And so we really do want to be a part of helping you get involved with this. So we're here today to make sure that we can answer any of your questions about it and hopefully take some of the the questions out of it so we can give you a little bit of an overview of what to do. So I'm going to share my screen. All right. So graduation with leadership distinction, what is it? When we think about graduation with leadership distinction, it really helps us to provide a little bit of context. So basically, there is the Center for Integrative and Experiential Learning at the University of South Carolina at Columbia. And they designed a program that was meant to enhance undergraduate research, undergraduate education, and build a culture of integrative learning. So what is integrative learning? Integrative learning is all about taking what you're learning in the classroom. So those concepts, those frameworks, those theories, and then applying it beyond the classroom. But not just applying it to anything beyond the classroom, applying it to things that we call high impact practices, practices that we know that you're going to get really meaningful experiences out of, including community service, study abroad, internships, peer leadership, and research experiences. So integrative learning is when you take those concepts, frameworks, and theories and really see them come to life in your experiences beyond the classroom. And I'm sure all of you have these experiences that you've had where you've learned something in the classroom, and maybe you've been at your internship or you've been at your job, or you've even been volunteering and you've really seen something that you learned in the classroom really come to life while you're getting involved. And so what this is all about is helping you to acknowledge those moments of integrative learning and really build kind of a structure for it. So what is it? So graduation with leadership distinction, it is an official academic distinction. So in a sense, it is meant to acknowledge you're within the and beyond the classroom learning. But going a step further, let's talk about first the tangible aspect of graduation with leadership distinction. And the first of that is that it is absolutely recognized on your transcript and diploma. So you'll have your name on your diploma along with your major or your associate degree. And then it will say graduation with leadership distinction in, and then it'll indicate your pathway. So it's really special that it's actually on your diploma. Another really fun perk to GLD is the cords. So I actually have some here. If you want to try them on, you're welcome to come in my office. So the cords are also a great way that you can have just another special just distinction. There's even a courting ceremony. So it's a really nice way that you can actually tangibly get those benefits. But even more so, we know that when you get involved with graduation with leadership distinction, that it really helps stand out on your resume, as well as the reflection that you're doing when it gets to the e-portfolio, which we'll get into in detail. It really allows you that chance to reflect on what your experience in college has been. So it's a huge benefit also to the takeaways that maybe you can't see. So with GLD, there are 5 pathways that you can choose. So you can do community service, diversity and social advocacy, global learning or study abroad, professional and civic engagement, which that is mainly your peer leadership and internship opportunities, and research. So when we get into it, I really want to focus today on our research and our professional and civic engagement. But a quick breakdown. So to pursue GLD, there are certain requirements. These are kind of the things just to check off your list to complete. So the first is that you need a 3.0 cumulative GPA. You need to choose a core experience in one of those pathways. You will also engage in some enhancement experiences. These are really meant to be experiences that can help supplement your learning that you're experiencing in the core. So it can be things like workshops or presentations that you attend or trainings. There's also some coursework, but please note that the coursework are typically things that are either already a part of your degree curriculum, or you can actually submit for special consideration for a class. So don't feel like you have to go out of your way to take, a certain class to be able to get this coursework. You can work with your GLD advisor for it. And then you'll actually do a presentation. We really love taking students to Discover U of SC in Columbia. And so that's a great way that you can get your presentation component. And then there's the e-portfolio. So just to dive into the core experiences, because this is really the biggest part of what you're going to be doing aside from the e-portfolio. So once you choose a pathway of interest to you, then you engage in a certain amount of hours or experiences to get that core experience checked. So for research, you need 1 semester of research accompanied by a faculty mentor. And I want to note with this, with research, it can be either one that you create, so it can be your personal research experience that you come up with your topic, or it can be one where you're on board with what your faculty mentor is doing. So don't feel like you have to come up with your own idea. You can easily jump on board a faculty's project and work with them, and that can count as your research experience. Another one I want to draw your attention to is professional and civic engagement. And that's 2 parts. The first part is you have to engage in 1 semester of a leadership role. So if any of you are PALs or Lancer ambassadors, if you are president or hold a role in your student organization, all of these are leadership opportunities that count. Additionally, your 120 hours of work or internship or practicum experience. So if you had an internship with the Eris Foundation, or maybe you work at Chick-fil-A, those count as your work hours. So what I want to draw your attention to here is that this is all for the associate degree. And as a side note, you can also pursue GLD when you're getting your bachelor's degree. We want to encourage students to do it now in their associate because it's a great way for you to be getting involved and really do that reflective learning, but also knowing that you can get it again while you're pursuing your bachelor's degree. The difference is going to be in terms of how many hours that you contribute to your experience. So you'll notice here with research that it's 2 semesters of research, and then professional and civic engagement is going to be 60 hours in a leadership role, and then 240 hours of work or internship. So I'm going to pause there, and I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Easley. So let me stop sharing my screen.
All right, great. So now that we've talked a little bit about integrative learning and what that is, and introduced the idea of GLD, talked a little bit about some of the other requirements, we wanted to kind of draw your attention to, okay, so what does this all come down to at the end? And what it all comes down to is the e-portfolio. And Mrs. Schreier mentioned this already. This is the final requirement. And for this, you are essentially building a website, which sounds kind of intimidating, but we're going to talk a little bit about this and show you some examples. So the purpose of the e-portfolio is for you to have an opportunity to articulate your integrative learning experiences. So those experiences beyond the classroom and within the classroom, and talk about how those connect. And again, that's really the purpose of integrative learning. Typically, you are completing your e-portfolio in the final semester. And every e-portfolio has 3 main sections. So there is kind of this standardized format where there is an about me, which is basically what it sounds like. It's an introduction. You tell a little bit about who you are, what your major is, what your pathway is. And so it just gives you an option or an opportunity to give a little introduction, a little summary about what your e-portfolio will explain. There are the key insights, which that's the bulk of the e-portfolio. And that's really where you're reflecting on your learning. And then there's a leadership section, and the leadership section will allow you to look at a real world problem or issue, and then use your key insights to try to address this problem, propose a solution. So there are a bunch of examples on the Center for Integrative and Experiential Learning's homepage, but Research Club also has some examples from former or current Lancaster students. So I'm going to share with you the Research Club Linktree page, and I'll put this in the chat in a little bit. And so I'm going to bring this over here. And so you can see there's a variety of resources, including the homepage for the Center for Integrative and Experiential Learning and Research Club's website and YouTube page, which there are several videos there that may be useful to you if you're considering undergraduate research. But I'm going to go directly to some of the e-portfolio examples. So this is going to bring you directly to the e-portfolio examples on the USC Research Club's website. And these students have given us permission to share their work, and we really appreciate that. And while we hope to promote the research pathway, we also provide support for students engaging in all pathways. So you'll notice that we actually do have examples from the research pathway, as well as professional and civic engagement. And these e-portfolios are listed kind of in reverse chronological order. So we have some of our most recent grads at the top of our list. And something you'll also notice is that as we scroll down these thumbnails, while there's a standard format, no 2 e-portfolios look the same. So it really allows you to personalize the e-portfolios. So I'm going to start with one of our most recent graduates who pursued the research pathway. And what you'll see is that this is a research pathway e-portfolio, and you can see that by as soon as we open the page. The standard format you'll see is at the top where we can link to any of these. And so I just want to show you some examples of like what the core experience was and what the beyond the classroom type experiences were. So with the about me, like I said, there's an introduction. Emily spent time doing research with a faculty member on herons, and she also did an independent study course where she was able to create her own research question under the supervision of a faculty member. So you see that this is how she got involved in undergraduate research. She took the initiative to ask a biology professor if they could participate in research, and then in an independent research class had the opportunity to design a research project. And then we had this great summary at the end of the about me that talks about the key insights. So there's one about scientific method and reverse persuasion, as well as the zone of inhibition. So as the author of this e-portfolio, we're getting kind of a preview of what we're going to find out. So like I already said, the core experience was this heron research, but there was coursework as an independent study. And then there was a variety of beyond the classroom experiences through chemistry club and research club. So For this key insight, we see that it's based around the scientific method. Okay, and so Emily introduces the scientific method and then points out all of these opportunities where she's had beyond the classroom learning for the scientific method and within the classroom opportunities associated with the scientific method. And so I'm going to pause here and just remind you, if you're not muted, to go ahead and mute your mic. That's helpful for us. And so here she says, without the scientific method, working on research, it would be a problem because there would be no clear purpose. In her independent research class, she found that without the scientific method or using the scientific method helped get started with a research question, and how the scientific method was used through Chemistry Club when Chemistry Club visited area high schools or participated in the local science fair, helping out with chemistry demonstrations, and how the scientific method is part of that. And even talked about the fact that we have the scientific method happening in all of our science laboratory courses, and gave an example for Bio 102. So you can see that the major concept for this key insight is all about the scientific method, which is clearly related to the research pathway. I'm also going to quickly show you an example of professional and civic engagement. And again, this is the pathway that utilizes work experience or internships, as well as a leadership position on campus. So in this case, this was a nursing student getting their internship experience through a capstone requirement for class. And then this student held various leadership roles through Research Club, as well as Student Nursing Association. And right off, you can see, of course, professional and civic engagement. And this is a little bit personalized for this student. So we've got our 3 key insights. And I'm just going to show you just another example of a key insight. Okay, the concept here was around evidence-based practice and how that relates to a nurse's civic duties. So this first key insight is all about that. And so this student writes about being exposed to evidence-based practice within the classroom and gives an example of a research paper that they did. Seeing evidence-based practice again in an upper division nursing course and how that was used within the classroom to complete discussion board assignments. And then using evidence-based practice to fulfill civic duty within a hospital. So anytime updating hospital policies and procedures is occurring, evidence-based practice or research is used to help make changes that are good for everyone. And in this case, Kaylee writes, as part of my civic duty, it is important that I provide education and care that reaches all populations that I serve. So Kaylee used evidence-based practice beyond the classroom to create a flyer detailing the benefits of skin-to-skin contact and breastfeeding for new mothers in both Spanish and English, and gave an example of this flyer that she created. So these are some examples. I could probably go on and talk about all of the amazing students we've had work through this, but you may be thinking, wow, this sounds like a lot of work to do this. And you would be right. I agree with you there. However, there are a lot of benefits in pursuing this. And so these e-portfolios make a great website to add to your CV or your resume. It's something that's great to send to future employers. It demonstrates wonderful written communication skills. Another thing that we've seen is that it helps students develop confidence in being able to verbally communicate what they've learned. And we have some examples of that. We've also had a lot of students have such a good experience. They love GLD as much as we do, that they complete GLD for their associate's degree, and then they want to do it again for their bachelor's degree. So they find it that rewarding, which is always nice for us to hear as well. And then one other thing I want to say about this is the more that you're engaged, both within the classroom and beyond the classroom, it helps faculty members who are working with you have a better time providing a reference for you or a letter of recommendation because you're so involved. So that's something to think of. And I know we're coming off a really difficult time being involved beyond the classroom because some of our limitations, but that's something to keep in mind. E-portfolios are typically completed as part of the University 401 courses. We offer this on the Lancaster campus typically in the spring semester if needed, which means if you're hoping to pursue graduation with leadership distinction, you definitely need to be talking to a GLD advisor. So that's something to think about kind of in advance. And during this class, we spend time helping students reflect and work on their writing to create their e-portfolios. So keep in mind those e-portfolios that I was sharing, those were finished products. They didn't start out like that. The students put a lot of work into those over 16 weeks. There's also the option to complete e-portfolios independently, but that still has to be under the supervision of a GLD advisor, which again would be myself or Mrs. Schreier. So we're going to make sure we leave time for questions. So I just want to tell you what are the next steps. There is a video, an orientation video that is located on the Center for Integration and Integrative and Experiential Learning homepage. And that link is on our USCL link tree. So I'll share that in the chat. But there's a quick orientation video and a quick quiz to make sure you watch the video. So you would do that. And I think the next step would then be to contact a GLD advisor on our campus so we can help you look at the application. It says you can start filling out your application, but we're here to help you do that. So that would be the next step. And the other thing I want to encourage you is to be thinking ahead. It is never too early to get involved and reach out to an advisor, even if this is your very first semester. It would be great to start planning your experiences. If you are graduating in the spring of 2022 and you think you may have your experiences, now is definitely the time to reach out to us because the application is due, I believe, January 28th. So you can't, even though it's graduation with leadership distinction, we can't wait until April to do those applications. So that's something to keep in mind. I'm going to stop sharing my screen as well. And I guess we'll open the floor to see if there are any questions. And if you don't feel comfortable unmuting, you can always type into the chat.
Well, everybody's kind of starting to think of their questions, and I know this is a lot of information to process. I do want to share a story of one of my students. You know, I had a student who was going into the healthcare profession, and remember on the first day of U401, I asked her why she wanted to go into healthcare, and she said, "Well, I want to help people." And you know, we talked about it, and I said, "That's such a such a noble and great direction to go." And then on the last day of class, after she had developed her portfolio, I said, "Well, why do you want to be in healthcare?" And she said, "Because I've learned that for me, there's so much importance to working in rural communities where I'm from and really teaching others about prevention and healthcare education." And she said, "And I realized that that's my passion and that's how I want to effect change in this world, in my profession." And so I think if anything too, this process is a benefit to really allowing you to really get at why you're going into the career you're going into or the area of interest that you're going into. So, and I think we've got some questions.
Dr. Johnson also has her hand up too.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Go for it.
Hi. Yes, I did have a quick question. So if a student is interested in this, like let's say it's a freshman, this is their first semester, is it too early to get started? And what would they need to do to get started?
Absolutely, never too early. I actually just did this presentation in my University 101 class this morning. So basically, if this sounds of interest to you, please connect with myself or with Dr. Easley. I will put my email up in the chat. So if this is something where you're like, yes, I want to do this, I want to get this started, you're welcome to email me. We can set up an appointment and just talk one-on-one about the experiences that you want to get involved in and how that can look on your GLD application. So we can get you started just as quickly as just that first meeting.
Thank you.
I was looking at some of the questions. Somebody asked about Lancer ambassadors. Those are actually, they work with admissions and they do a lot of assistance with introducing people to tours and getting them involved with being on our campus. So if you're interested in being a Lancer ambassador, you can contact Carly Christian or Haley Sims in our admissions office. They're wonderful, can definitely help give you more information about that program. And to the person that was asking about this call, we are actually recording it. And so it will be available. Liz, are you going to post it on the US?
Yes, so it'll be posted on the Research Club YouTube, and that link is on the Linktree page that I shared to the group. And I'll also make sure to share that with Dr. Johnson so that they can either share it on the YouTube page for Chemistry Club or just share the link individually. So we will have, hopefully this is recorded correctly, but we will have that. We also have a shorter version of this presentation with slides. Ashley and I have shortened this a little bit to make it work and so we could focus on the core experience in the ePortfolio. But there's another 12-minute video located on our YouTube page that goes a little bit more in depth with all the enhancement experiences and that sort of thing as well. So we'll be sharing that out too.
Just looking at the chat, it says, does USCL offer internships or help match students with internships? Yes, let me give you this information. We actually have an amazing career counselor that can assist you. So let me put in the chat the website to get in touch with Mrs. Bridget Plexico. She's wonderful and can absolutely help you. Give me a second just to pull that up.
And while Ashley's doing that, I'm going to keep looking in the chat. It says, is GLD considered an honor society? I wouldn't say that it's necessarily considered an honor society, but it is a distinction, an honor distinction. And so, you know, when you graduate with your associate's degree or your bachelor's degree, on that diploma, it'll say, you know, your name and your degree with graduation in leadership distinction. So it's this extra honor that you are earning, but not necessarily a society or an organization. But good question. And then I saw, are these programs available for dual enrollment students? So we have had students participate in that. Ashley, do you have any experience with that?
Yeah, so I would say with dual enrollment, so your experiences as a dual enrollment student will carry over into if you're going to continue here with your associate degree. So the dual enrollment, because you're going to be taking classes at USCL, so the experiences that you're engaging in while you're at USCL do count. But then you would actually pursue GLD once you're at USCL. I hope that makes sense.
So if you're earning an associate degree,
correct,
you can be earning GLD as a dual enrollment, as you're kind of accumulating these experiences as a dual enrollment student. And I know sometimes we have students that are completing high school and an associate's degree at the same time. So it is important that we mention that only the university or college experiences count towards the graduation with leadership distinction. These are great questions. What other questions might you have?
Yeah, so PALs are a wonderful opportunity through our student life office. They work directly with Riley Waiters, our director of student life, and they not only do tours, but they are a big part of helping our students with orientation. So if any of you are first year students in your first semester, you may remember who your PAL was this past summer. They were the ones that were heavy-handed with helping with taking you on tours and taking you around campus and answering your questions. So if you have any interest in being a PAL, you just need to contact Riley Waiters. So I'll put up in the chat too the names of for Lancer ambassadors, because that's your admissions. And then I'll put up the name of Riley Waiters for our PALs.
I'm noticing a comment from Dr. Johnson in the chat. It says, have any of the students who completed this program given feedback on how GLD has helped them with employment opportunities after graduation? This is a great question. In general, I would say they've all found it beneficial. They're all very proud to put their website on their resume or CV. I do have an experience where a student who completed research on the Lancaster campus moved on to complete their bachelor's degree at a four-year institution, and their degree curriculum required them to complete an internship. And they reported back that they were one of the few students that were able to do a paid internship, and it was a highly competitive internship. And this student really cited their experiences through GLD and research in making them more competitive for that experience. And let's see, we've got some more questions coming in. Is the program available to students primarily online? I'm wondering if that means the graduation with leadership distinction specifically. I mean, with graduation with leadership distinction, you're earning your core experience typically in a face-to-face setting, but I think things are really changing right now. So if it's an internship and you're working virtually, that would count towards your core experience. If it's, you're accumulating work hours and work experience and you're a virtual employee, then that would be an opportunity. Many of I would say some of our enhancement experiences are certainly offered virtually. So if you're looking for those virtual experiences right now, which we can completely understand, those are available. And I also see a question about research club.
Yeah, I was going to say, I want to make sure you got that plug in.
So great. Well, Research Club for about the last year and a half has been primarily online. And so I would encourage you to use your the Linktree page that I shared, and that gives you links to all of our social media, our website, our YouTube page. Most of our presentations right now are being shared in an asynchronous format, but we've got plenty of archived presentations and that sort of thing for you to go back and view. If you're interested in participating in undergraduate research, you can certainly always reach out to me and we can see what's going on in campus. Again, COVID-19 has certainly impacted faculty's scholarship, and we've had to become creative and change the way we address research opportunities. But I can certainly be a resource to you in helping you maybe find some research to get involved in or answer more questions about Research Club. I'm one of the advisors for that group. So I would encourage you to go to our Linktree page, check out our social media, and kind of see a little bit about what it's all about.
I just wanted to do one more add-on to the question earlier about students completing the program and how that impacted their opportunities. I had one student who was really unsure about doing it. She was going into education and she just couldn't see it. And so she ended up going forward and engaging in the process. And she said that during her interview, she referred so much to her e-portfolio that her principal actually asked her to send it to him, and then he called her and hired her. She said that what she realized and didn't see it at the moment was that she had actually spent a semester developing her teaching philosophy. And so for her, it was so valuable just as an educator, but then also for her to really see how that impacted how she spoke about her college experience. So really thinking about, there is the tangible with those great chords and that diploma, but there is so much that is beyond that you can gain from doing this if you would like to.
Also noticing, go ahead.
There's a great question. So I'm really excited to tell you, if you pursue the associate degree, it is 2 key insights. And if you're pursuing the bachelor's degree, it's 3 key insights. Other questions?
I think while we're waiting to see if there's going to be any kind of final questions, again, we just want to encourage you that if you think you're interested, please reach out now, because it's great to plan ahead, and it can sometimes get a little bit stressful trying to scramble in time to meet the deadlines and that sort of thing. So again, just wanting to emphasize that it's not too early, even if you're a first semester student. If you think you're interested in professional and civic engagement or research or any of the pathways, really, we can help you find opportunities and help you figure out enhancement activities and find out what classes count that you might be already taking. You may already have some of the requirements for GLD and not even realize it. So reaching out early is always kind of the best practice on this.
I went ahead and added, I've got my email up in the chat as well as a link to my calendar. So if you would rather just click on the calendar to make an appointment, I'm happy to talk with you. And then there's one great final question. Can you add your BA e-portfolio to your AA portfolio? Great question. So there are 2 separate portfolios. So if you are pursuing your associate's degree, you would pick one pathway, and then we would recommend for your bachelor's degree to pursue another pathway. So you'll have 2 very distinct e-portfolios.
All right. Well, I just want to say thank you again to our speakers, and that was extremely informative. And I think that's an exciting opportunity. I hope that many of our students will take advantage of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Please join me in giving a reaction to our speakers, just to let them know we appreciate their time today.